Do you feel the vibes?
What's up, YouTube? It's Carolina Calvin coming back to you with another video, and welcome to my NFL 2018 Divisional game recap between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Jacksonville Jaguars picked up the 45-42 victory over the Steelers, and it was a very high-scoring game. You know, as I just talked about this score, and both teams were. You see, both teams were able to move the ball. Of course, Jacksonville got some help from his defense with the 2 turnovers, one leading directly to a score, and the other pretty much setting the offense up on a very short field. But you saw the Steelers were able to really move the ball in the second half. But let's get into the numbers. Starting with the away team, Jacksonville Jaguars. Blake Bortles, 14-26, 214 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. No picks is a big deal for him. But early on, really into that fourth quarter, he had under 100 yards. So he didn't, I wouldn't say he played particularly well in this game. He started making plays at the end when they really needed him to. But still much better than he played against the Bills. But it was still a mediocre game for Blake Bortles. But you could say one thing, he didn't lose in the game, which he's been prone to do. But moving on to Jacksonville's rushing, Leonard Fournette, 25 carries, 109 yards, 3 touchdowns. He scored 45 points. Your quarterback only got 1 touchdown. Somebody else got to be scoring them, right? Blake Bortles, 5 carries, 35. T.J. Yeldon, 5 carries, 20, and a touchdown. So you can see, they have a total of 35 carries, 164 yards, 4 touchdowns. So they stuck to the running game. They ran the ball more times than they passed. Really controlled the clock, and of course they were getting touchdowns out of him. And that's what you need. You can't play a team like the Steelers with the offense they have and kick field goals. You got to be successful in the goal line, and you at least give him that a goal line offense was good. You got a running back like Fournette who can who's a powerful runner, been dealing with injuries, but he's a guy who can get into the end zone. Jacksonville receiving, T.J. Yeldon, 3 receptions, 57. Cole, 1 reception, 45. Marquise Lee, 3 receptions, 28. Koyak, 1 reception, 21. O'Shawn, 1 reception, 19. Bohannon, 1 reception, 14, and a touchdown. That was a fullback. It was a really well-designed play. Because of how well they've run the ball in this game, because this touchdown came late in the fourth quarter, but because of how well they've run the ball, Steelers win for that. And the fullback, been lead blocking the entire game, and this is a really well designed play. He's wide open. Leonard Fournette, 2 receptions, 10, and Westbrook, 1 reception for 8. So not big numbers jumping out at you. Your quarterback only has 214 yards passing. Looking at the Jacksonville defense, early on, the 2 turnovers that really helped put points on the board really helped out. But I want to say overall in that first half, the second half, I'm sorry, Pittsburgh did a really good job of blocking. That's when Ben Roethlisberger was really just putting it in the air. The running game, Pittsburgh only rushed the ball 18 times. And I believe they threw it 58. So, Ben Roethlisberger was letting it fly. And they were making plays down the field. Martavis Bryant, Vance McDonald, of course, Antonio Brown had 2 touchdowns. So they were making plays down the field on this defense while doing a really good job of protecting Ben Roethlisberger. So, Le'Veon Bell, he had a good game in terms of as a receiver. So Jacksonville's defense kind of they were giving up yards, they were giving up points in that second half, and they had a tougher time covering the running back. Le'Veon Bell's a tough cover no matter who's playing, but even McDonald, the tight end, had a tough time guarding him. So that could become an issue playing against New England. You're gonna have to really look at game footage and see what they were doing wrong in that Steelers game. But moving over to Pittsburgh, Ben Roethlisberger, 37 of 58, 469 yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. Now, that last drive, because they burnt so much time, it was almost pretty much padding at that point. About 80 of his yards was really padding. And that, of course, that touchdown at the game to Juju Smith, that was really a padding touchdown. But the guy threw the ball 58 times. He had success. He was throwing it down the field, throwing it to your, the running back, Le'Veon Bell, the tight end, Antonio Brown was a beast. Even Martavis Bryant, the crybaby, was making plays. First half, it kind of got into trouble just because Ben Roethlisberger, he had the fumble that was returned by Telvin Smith for a touchdown, and he had the interception, which both led to scores. He was even getting booed at a point once he went up 21-7. He was getting booed at that point. But he really was able to make up for it in that second half when they were really just able to move the ball pretty much at will. Looking at Pittsburgh rushing, they didn't run the ball much. Le'Veon Bell, 16 carries, 67 yards, and a touchdown. I think one of them was like a backwards pass, pretty much like a toss, where Ben Roethlisberger was just improvising. Big Ben, 2 carries, 16 yards. So they only had total 18 carries for 83 yards. Not bad on 18 carries, a 4.6 average. So that's not too bad. Now, numbers are kind of skewed by big rushes, but it's okay to run it only 18 times and get 83 yards and get a score out of it. Pittsburgh receiving, Antonio Brown, 7 receptions, 132 yards, 2 touchdowns. Dude was a beast. I mean, he made an amazing catch on A.J. Boye, A.J. Boye has been one of the best corners in football. And I believe his first 2 touchdowns given up this year were those. So it just shows you how good Antonio Brown is. Coming back off injury like he never left. Vance McDonald, 10 receptions, 112. Le'Veon Bell, 9 receptions, 88 and a touchdown. Like I said, him and Antonio Brown were getting it done. Martavis Bryant, 2 receptions, 78 yards and a touchdown. Even this guy making plays. Eli Rogers, 5 receptions, 42. James, 1 reception, 12. Juju Smith, 3 receptions, 5 yards and a touchdown. He had that one that pretty much really didn't matter because the game was over. I expected him to play a lot better. I think if he did, Steelers probably would have won this game. So yeah, I expected him to play a lot better. Okay, looking at the Steelers defense. Early on they did a really good job against the pass. Obviously Jacksonville was looking to run the ball, but the turnovers didn't help them. 1 turnover leading to a short field, and the other leading directly to a fumble return for a touchdown. But you can't blame the defense for that. You can't blame it for that second half, late in the game, giving up scores. Now, yet again, the offense didn't help them out. Play calling. Now, if I didn't mention this, the play calling, not only deciding to go for the onside kick, but also deciding to go for it on 4th down instead of punting and allowing that Jacksonville offense to have a short field so they can get a score. You really can't blame your defense for that. So, I would say Pittsburgh defense wasn't good because when they needed to get stops, they couldn't. When they really needed to get stops, when they really needed to get their offensive football back, they couldn't. And you saw Blake Bortles really started to move the ball through the air on him late in the game. Most of his yards come in that 4th quarter, late in the game. I believe up to that point he had like 90-something yards, going off the top of my head. But combine that with Pittsburgh didn't sack Blake Bortles. I expected the defense to play a lot better, not to give up 45 points to Jacksonville. A Jacksonville offense that started to struggle late in the season, and an offense that also Blake Bortles started to regress back to Blake Bortles. at the end of the season. And then you look at the playoffs against the Bills, they only scored 10 points. And they only scored 10 points. So Pittsburgh, and it's not just the defense. Now, people look at the defense. People look at the score like, oh, the defense gave up 45 points. No, they didn't. Did they after that interception, did they give up a touchdown? Yeah, but what do you expect when you give up the ball on, when you turn it over, the team who gets the pick only has 20 yards to go to get a touchdown? Or we expect on it when your defense is not even out there and the offense fumbles the ball and is returned for a touchdown. So 14 of those points, hell, I would say 17, maybe 20. About close to half of those points, the play calling and the offense let them down. Going for an onside kick that led to points because they didn't get it. Going for it on fourth down, didn't get it. Allowing a short field. Fumble return for a touchdown. Can't blame defense for that. Interception led directly to a short field and a touchdown. So I don't think they played particularly well, but they didn't play as bad as people saying they did. It didn't play as bad as people saying they did, just because of just weird play calls and unfortunately the 2 turnovers. But looking at the team stats, third down efficiency, Jacksonville 8 of 14, Pittsburgh 7 of 16. Pittsburgh also 4 of 6 on fourth down, so they went for it quite a bit. Jacksonville was 1 of 1. Penalties, Jacksonville 3 penalties, 40 yards. Pittsburgh 4 penalties for 25. Time possession was relatively the same, just because Pittsburgh in that second half was really able to start moving the ball, so they were able to eat up clock. But Jacksonville 31 minutes 10 seconds. Pittsburgh 31 minutes 10 seconds, and Jacksonville 28 minutes 50. And a lot of that, for Pittsburgh was at the end of the game. They really started to be able to. Well, in the second half, they were able to start moving the ball. And Pittsburgh's one of those teams. They do have those long drives. They can score quick, but you see a lot of times they do have those long drives. But probably the biggest thing in the game is the 2 turnovers. That's the biggest difference, because you helped out a Jacksonville offense that struggled late in the season and in their first playoff game. So I think that right there is the difference in the game, because you look at Pittsburgh, you look at all the numbers, they were great. It's just the 2 turnovers. Hard to make up for it when the team scores directly off those turnovers. But let me know what you think down in the comment section. Pittsburgh's course, they're eliminated, so all those promises they made to New England or whatever, throw that out. Jacksonville's heading to New England. Gonna be I'm gonna talk about that, but I definitely want to see what happens. You got one of the best defenses in football against one of the best offenses in football. We'll have to see what happens with that one. But of course, I'm gonna do a poll. Probably do them right after I finish uploading this video. But like I said, like this video, hit that thumbs up button, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.